Twitters. Someone asked me a question. I love it when people ask us questions on Twitter.
Like a realtor question?
Yeah, like we have answers to real estate questions on the interwebs.
This is so fascinating.
Yeah.
So what was the question about?
She wanted to know what I tell my clients when they're asking about school districts, like how I tell them which school districts or which schools within the districts are the best ones.
And what did you tell her?
I told her the truth, which is that I don't have kids, and so I don't have any first-hand knowledge. We all have access to the Washington State report card system where they score, where you have the scores that the different schools have.
You can Google OSPI report card for Washington State and find it there.
But that's not really giving you the full picture of what it's like to go to a school, and I think that's not what parents want. So my trick, what I told her on Twitter, is to connect them with either a friend or a client that I already have in that school, and let them kind of have the real talk about, the mom talk or the dad talk about what it's like to have kids in school there.
Well, because we're heavily regulated. We've discussed this before in terms of what we can say to consumers about all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And those are really important anti-discrimination laws that regulate us. But it also means that we're sort of reduced to sharing statistics, which in a lot of cases don't convey the really important things. I guess in my opinion as a parent, when I'm looking at a school, what's the culture like there? What's the teacher to student ratio? You actually can get that information, but what does it feel like to go to school there?
I think it's also interesting to point out that your husband is a school teacher and about to become a principal.
Yep.
And you have a kind of an inside scoop. You have friends that are administrators and teachers, and you know that it's not just about the numbers.
And I found this a challenge when I'm trying to answer that question for out-of-state clients, because we're sort of constrained. A lot of people go to great schools for information, but I feel like that's an incomplete picture, and it's the best we have in a lot of ways. The challenge to me is we don't need to know more necessarily. Like the schools that are 8, 9s, and 10s, they sell themselves, and the schools that are 1, 2s, and 3s, most people are trying to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
It's the schools in the middle that a lot of cases might be rated a 5 or a 6 on great schools. That there's probably more to the story than just that. And so getting in, when I talked to a couple of educators, the discussion was, you need to go to the school if you possibly can. Connect to somebody there, because it really is a story that can't just be told in the numbers.
Well, and I would think, don't different schools kind of have different personalities and also different programs?
In Tacoma, this is a really big deal, and this is a discussion my husband and I have had, that a larger school district has a greater variety of programs. So you may want to consider that we've got a public Montessori in the elementary program in Tacoma. We are today at a house that's just around the corner from Grant Elementary, and Grant's got some really great programs that are unique to that school.
We have a school of the arts.
At the high school level, SOTA is very well known. We also now have SAMI, which actually holds classes at Point Defiance Park. We have a great variety here, and so it's try to get beyond just the numbers and see if you can get into, I would say, community blogs, patches, the online patches. So Gig Harbor and University Place, a great example. These are 2 smaller school districts that are very comparable when you look at just the statistics. But they have their own nuances, and so you need to get beyond just numbers if you're going to get a feel for that.
Well, and I understand that in the Tacoma School District, you might live here, which is technically Grant Elementary, but you can send your child to the Montessori schools, right?
Right.
Is that the case in UP or Gig Harbor?
So it's the rules vary. The big thing is it's space allowed first. So if a school becomes very popular, sometimes it's challenging to get in because they may have maximum enrollment. So they'll go geographic area first, and then sometimes they're looking at siblings. That can be an issue if you've already got a child at that school. The biggest thing is the parents got to be responsible for transportation. We have kind of a limited bus program here in Tacoma, so you've got to be willing to drive your child somewhere else. There's a lot of transferring between Tacoma and University Place schools, for instance, because that border jogs through the middle of a bunch of neighborhoods. That's something you have to do each year. You have to petition for enrollment in the school district each new school year. So it's something to think about if you buy out of district and you want your child to attend in the other district.
And what have you heard? What are people's success rates with being able to go back and forth?
It seems to me like it's pretty good, although they can, somebody that we know said that their kid got in trouble for some behavioral issues. They can not let your child back in for some reason. I wouldn't get too hung up on that, but I think do go beyond the numbers. There's a lot of good schools out there. There's a lot of great neighborhoods. A lot of times we're dealing with issues of affordability. And you might find a really wonderful home in a comfortable neighborhood that deserves a second look. And maybe you need to go into the school and meet some teachers and administration and see if it's worth your consideration.
Yeah. Get schooled.
ABC.